A Black executive perspective now presents Need to Know with the award-winning hyphenated Dr. Nsenga Burton. Dr. Burton, what do we need to know?
Good afternoon and welcome to Need to Know with Dr. Nsenga Burton. I am she. Today I am going to be talking about the flooding in Central Texas. It has been a horrible, horrible story. Very, very sad. All of the losses. The number of people who have been lost has increased every single day. By the hour, by the minute since it happened. And so I just want to offer condolences to all of the people who were lost. But I also want to talk about why it matters who you vote for. Because I can't say that it would have been avoidable because they literally got 4 months of rain in 4 hours. But I will say that there could have been more done had we had people in place. So, there's a lot of discussion about there's too much government. There's too much, waste in government. There's too much of this and that and the other. But there is, to me, you can never have more. You can never have too many people in meteorology, in science, or what have you. Particularly as we face climate change. Now, I know a lot of people think climate change is a hoax. I don't know how you are against. You don't believe in climate change, but you believe that the Democrats are manipulating the clouds. Like I don't even know how you can put that together. That just doesn't even go together. But okay, same people who don't believe in climate change believe that Democrats are manipulating the clouds, like spraying stuff up there. I don't believe it. Okay. I do believe in climate change because I actually believe in scientists. I don't know when the church and science separated. They've always been together. Scientists have always been religious. Religious people have always believed in science. You have science taught in Catholic schools, religious schools. We've had science taught in Christian schools for centuries. So I'm not understanding where all of this anti-science comes from as it relates to religion. But at any rate, when you um, apply this whole notion that, oh, it's too much government, oh, we can't believe the scientists because they're against God, and you think it's okay to just gut agencies like the CDC, gut agencies, that like the National Weather Service, at the local, at the federal level, which then of course has consequences at the state and local level too, because a lot of funding is begotten from the federal level. Then you have disasters that can be avoidable to some extent, like this happened. So what happened is that they did have the information, the National Weather Service and the forecast. They did have the information, but the warnings did not go out until the middle of the night, and that's when most people are sleeping. When you think about campers, and my daughter just came back from away camp. When you think about campers, sometimes they have technology free. My daughter's camp was technology free, so they may not be accessing that information as readily as before. So the middle of the night is not a good time for anyone, just in general. But specifically, they usually have the warnings go out as needed because you have a warning coordinator, meteorologist on staff. But that person took Trump's buyout. And so there was no warning coordination meteorologist. Thus and so, the warnings did not go out at the optimal time when people would have been able to hear them or get them, and maybe acted differently, i.e., evacuated sooner to avoid the flooding. In the San Antonio field office, which is kind of the umbrella office, they had some losses, i.e., they don't have a senior hydrologist, they don't have a staff forecaster, and they don't have a meteorologist. The same is the case in the San Angelo office, which is actually close to where the church camp was flooded. I say all of this to say that you cannot just gut people, agencies. I'm sorry, that's, people make up agencies, but you cannot just gut agencies because you are so pressed to give billionaires a tax break without any thought or intentionality, because disasters happen. Now, I have said this before, I'm going to continue to say it because it really makes me mad. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting, but we saw how COVID was mishandled. We saw how we did not do what needed to be done to prevent it from getting here, because so many people had been laid off at the CDC, or silenced at the CDC and these other agencies that were in place to stop it from getting here. And so we had over 1 million people die. And it's more than 1 million people, because if you recall, they stopped counting people in nursing homes because they're like, oh, they're going to die anyway. They stopped counting people who died with chronic illnesses. Oh, because they're going to die anyway. All right. But we do know that there's been over 1 million people dead. So we do know under this current administration, based on the previous administration, that they don't do well with natural disasters, epidemics, pandemics. They don't handle that well. And the reason is because they're always eliminating things and not thinking about it. Such is the case with this flooding. How can you not have a warning coordinator in a place that floods and had the same type of flooding 100 years prior? This is not a place that doesn't flood often or routinely. These are why these places were established. This is why these agencies were established. This is why these people are needed. Because prior behavior, and his buddy Dr. Phil says that, is the greatest indicator of future behavior. That's not only in human behavior, but that's also in science. It's also in economy, money, all of the things. So I'm not going to say that it could have been completely prevented, because that 4 months of rain in 4 days was coming. But there were some major missteps that happened that could have saved the lives of all those young kids and their mentors and guides and all the other people who have since perished. And I'm sure they'll be continue to find other people, if you've seen the footage of the floods, or if you survived the floods. So I know sometimes people don't want to say things because, we want to stay positive. We want to keep people in our prayers. We want to do all of that. Well, you can do all of that, have your faith, and you can have your acts, your deeds, right? Because you have to have both in order to be godly, allegedly. Okay. So what I would like for you to do is to contact your congresspeople and let them know that the gutting of these agencies, the first agency that was gutted, that was fired, the first person was the head of FAA. How can you not have someone at the head of the Federal Aviation Association when the United States has the busiest airports in the world? That is not a good decision. Gutting that agency is not a good decision. Right? So, of course, we have to get rid of waste. Of course, we have to get rid of, if you think there's corruption or whatever. But you have to do it methodically, and you have to do it intentionally, and you have to do it thoughtfully. And this is an example of why you just don't slash and burn, bash and dash, whatever you want to say, government agencies. Government exists for a reason. It is to take care of the people who pay the taxes to live here in this country. All right. So what I need you to know is there are consequences to who you vote for. There are consequences to knowing the difference between somebody who's kind of good and kind of bad, and they may have had a rocky beginning, or the first term was terrible, but somehow the next term is going to be better. There are consequences to all that. There are consequences to gutting agencies and not having our Congress people who are empowered, and that would be the Republicans, stand up and say, listen, we need a head of the FAA. Listen, we need a warning coordinator at the National Weather Service. Listen, we need these things at the state level because my constituents will be harmed. We also need a president who doesn't send help based on the makeup of the political parties of the state. So no help for California because Newsom is a Democrat, but lots of help for Texas because Governor Abbott is a Republican. Okay, so what you need to know is we got to do better. We got to choose better, and we have to fight back. You cannot just sit idly by. We are all in trouble. We are all one missed warning signal away from total devastation. We are. So talk to your congresspeople, Republican congresspeople. In my state, we got Republicans, a lot of Republicans. I'm contacting them all this week. Like, listen, we're not having this. Make sure that these things are staffed. If you can't get the money or the funding from the federal agencies, then give it to us from the state. You're already charging us an arm and a leg for taxes because we're a Republican state. Add a little bit more on. Whatever you got to do. But this is unacceptable. And we have to stop accepting poor decision making and poor consequences from our elected leaders. We have to stop doing that. It's not acceptable. All right. So what you need to know, contact your people. Make sure you stay abreast of what you can as it relates to weather, because there is climate change and it is real. We are going to have more flooding. We are going to have more hurricanes. We're having them, all the things. And listen to scientists, meteorologists. They have degrees in this. You have to go to school for it. That's why we have NASA, all the things. Listen to people who actually know what they're talking about and stop buying, whatever these conspiracy theorists are peddling. Look at what is actually happening. Use your brain. All right. That's it. So tune in next week to a Black Executive Perspective podcast with Tony and Chris, the award-winning podcast where they discuss all things Black and executive and entrepreneurial. And you can tune in to Need to Know with Dr. Nsenga Burton next week. I will see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Stay focused and stay informed.
A Black Executive Perspective.